Hi, thanks for joining us today. Natasha, could you share with us more about your organization and what is your role?
Sure, thanks, Janice. We're New Direction Care, and New Direction Care is owned and operated by myself, Natasha Chadwick. We're regarded as an innovator and see ourselves as an innovator in the aged care space here in Australia. And what that means is that we have developed a microtown, we call it, and by a microtown, it's almost like a little town in any suburb or community here in Australia. So there is streets, there are houses, small houses, 17 houses on those streets. There's a retail precinct, if you like, where we've got a corner store and a cinema and a wellness centre and cafe. It's literally like building a suburb here in Australia for people who are aging and people who are living with, chronic illnesses and require care and support. And so we develop all of the systems that they might need or services around them. Our wellness centre's got a fully equipped gymnasium. It has a hydro pool. That, we have the clinics where GPs come in and actually provide services to our residents directly from the clinic, so that they don't have to go, outside of the community, if you like, or the microtown. And the same for dental and things like that. So, it really is quite different from traditional aged care in Australia, where, we see large buildings, 120 people under one roof. Our residents, only 7 of them live together in a small house. And that house operates just like, a normal home, if you like. All the cooking, all the cleaning, all the, laundry, everything that you do in your home happens in that house. And we have house companions who are very, highly qualified and well trained team members that then provide the support services into those houses for residents. So it's really about meeting a resident or an aged care person, where they are at that time in their life and right through their life. So as they age, as they start to require more services, our house companions and our clinical team are then able to provide that service to them.
Fantastic. What does care leadership mean to you, leading an organization like this that is innovative and ahead of what's happening in the market?
So for me, I think it's really important that not only am I able to, challenge the status quo of our industry and think about innovation, but that the whole team is able to do that as well, and that they have a safe place to do that in.
Mm.
And, I think it's really important that we do that in leadership, provide that safe place and that support for our teams when they want to do something different. Just as an example, at New Direction Care, one of the things that we do that is different from many other people in our sector, just in terms of nursing, is our residents don't have things like blow-up mattresses or air mattresses, for pressure injury care. We use different types of equipment and repose mattresses. And all of that means that they get good night's sleep, they're not being woken up, but their pressure injury, our record is really amazing. We have very few pressure injuries.
Well, that says a lot for what the different kinds of mattresses that we think we should have, or the ones that really work for the residents as well, and what's beneficial for them. And it's great to have knowledge like that.
Yeah,
What is
but
your
also,
Yeah.
sorry, James, I was going to say, I don't
um,
necessarily have that knowledge. That comes from the team that knows that they don't have to follow the status quo. They
yeah.
can,
Mhm.
choose different ways of doing things and know that they'll get our support if they can demonstrate the outcome is good for our residents.
Yeah, I think it's a fantastic management environment that is being mooted to allow the team to feel empowered to come up with new ideas and solutions. What is your care philosophy when it comes to looking after the people who live in the village?
So I think we talk in terms of reablement, but I think really it's more about empowerment and giving people back, or encouraging them to maintain their own agency. And by that, I mean, most people who come into a residential or a care environment, particularly, that traditional institutionalized aged care, they leave their independence and their ability to make choices at the door almost. They go from being able to do whatever they do at home, whenever they eat, whenever they, go to sleep, whenever they have a shower, whatever they do, being their individual choice, to now being part of, a decision that is made by other people, because they've got a number of other residents that they need to care for. Whereas for us, it's really important that we understand that person's story, what it is that they want, and then be able to do exactly the same things when they come in to live in one of our houses. And, that can be as simple as, I sit up and watch TV, till midnight, and everyone lets me do that, and it's not an issue. So when I'm not awake at 8 o'clock in the morning, I don't wake up until 9. I haven't missed breakfast because breakfast was at 8. So it's very much about that individualisation and choice. Even if sometimes those choices the resident might make would be perceived as risky. It's how do we, support them to do those activities and minimise the risk, but at the same time, encourage and enable them to still take those risks.
Obviously, when looking after a population that may have more frailty or physical ability challenges, is it difficult for the staff to let the residents be? Because what if the residents fall? How do you overcome staff who are a bit worried about the safety of the residents?
I think it's important for us. We employ on the basis of values, not on the basis of qualification. So yes, we need to have people who are qualified registered nurses. That's just a given. Or even our house companions, they may not have a care background. We train them. And so if they believe in our values, if they come in on the basis of our values, then as long as we give them really clear and consistent messaging and we train them, we find that most people are really able to accept that and understand it fairly quickly. The other thing is the whole model is around encouraging that independence and wellness. So about 30% of our residents, so that's a third of our residents every single day, are using the wellness centre. They're actually being mobile. They're being encouraged, to have physical activity. And so many of our residents actually improve. The minute they walk in the door, they're doing things that they haven't done for years, and they start to get back that health, that fitness, which is just, fantastic to see.
Wow, that's wonderful and that's motivating. Well, do you have more stories to share with us on seniors' lives that have improved since living in this environment?
Yeah, look, it's really interesting when you ask about personal stories and things like that. There's so many over the 6 years of New Direction Care at Belmere being open. We have seen people who have come into care, and we've been able to re-enable them so that they could go back home and live with support coming into the home. And even though people might think, well, that's a bit silly, why would you do that? That is, for a person to be able to go back home after living in a aged care community is fairly significant outcome for them. So that's just some of the things that we do. Others are just little stories about residents that come in. They might have had a fall. They're no longer being able to mobilise, and within a few months from working with our team, they've rehabilitated and they're now walking around, in the community. There's just so many little stories. Like even today, for example, I was in at New Direction Care at Belmere because we were celebrating the life of one of our residents that had been with us from the start. So 6 years she'd lived with us. And, we'd gone through that journey with her and her family to the point where they didn't want to have a funeral elsewhere. They wanted to do that on site with us. So there's just so many good stories.
I think that's awesome, and I think that's one of the best things of working in this environment, because you can come home and you have so many nice experiences and stories to share with your loved ones as well. Let's also take a look at some of the technologies that's been
Yeah.
introduced in this space, because of course age tech has gained in profile, rising trends, and we all know that we need to use technology, but how do we use them well? Can you share some of the technology implementations you've utilized to support your team in delivering the care?
Yeah, sure. So we, as I said, 6 years we've been open now, and so when we were designing, there wasn't a lot of really good technology at the time. It's amazing how advanced we've become in those few years, actually. But what we did was we created a environment that was fully wireless. That we could then build a whole lot of services on top of. So we have CCTV throughout the community, and that helps us, understand where people are and be hands off. If we can eyes on them, we can see that they're okay. We don't need to intervene. We have fully mobile monitoring systems, so residents wear technology, and again, we know where they are in the community. That allows them to just move freely around, the micro town. And then we also have all of our systems that we've implemented for our teams. So again, our teams all take, they all have a mobile, and all of their work is done on that mobile system. And, including, knowing what is this resident's routine, what do they need from me as a team member today, and all of the details about their care needs are very clear right in front of you, and at the bedside, if you like, exactly where they need that support.
Well, share with us the typical profile of some of your residents, their care needs and their life requirements, and relate that to their quality of life living in this environment. We want to know how quality of life has improved, and a bit more about what your residents are like.
Yeah, sure. So I think it's really important that we find a balance between quality of care and quality of life. There is, for most people don't want to live because they get good quality care, but they actually don't have a quality of life. And we see that a lot in aged care, where there is medication, there's something else to keep that person living, but it doesn't mean that they're actually living, a life that they're enjoying and that is quality. And so I think for us, it's really important, all of our residents, as I said, 30% are up at the wellness centre every day. They're able to move freely within and around the community, as well as outside of the community. And all of that adds to, their quality of life, because they're being able to make decisions. If I want a cup of coffee, I can go up to the cafe freely and order that for myself, or the cafe knows what it is that I, would like. It's about life. It's about being empowered. It's not just about being given the right level of care for, the diagnosis that you might have. And when you consider that at New Direction Care, we have anywhere between 70 to 80% of our residents living with some form of cognitive impairment.
So I think that's very important for us to discuss further as well. Quality of life versus quality of care, and that brings us to the discussion: how do we measure quality of life? What are your benchmarks, and what do you use?
So we use a number of different benchmarks, but I have to be honest, I haven't really come across any really good data sets. Anything in our sector, even the international ones that we've looked at, that really do measure quality of life well, particularly for someone who's living with a cognitive impairment. It's easy to ask people questions about how they're feeling and those kinds of things. But when you've got someone who is unable to communicate that way, you've got to have other means to gather that data. And so, observation is really important, of actually looking at a person and seeing how they're living and what they're doing, and whether or not they're enjoying, those aspects of their life, that there is, moments of joy, if you like. I think that's a really clear indicator of quality of life versus, getting the care that you actually require. So quality of life is something that's incredibly important. We know from our length of stay, that our residents, when they come to join us, they're living longer. And not only are they living longer, and I think this is the most important aspect of testing quality of life, they're living their lives right up until the end. So it's only in the last few weeks, when they're at end of life, that they're no longer able to be active participants within the community. And that speaks to quality of life to me more than anything.
Yeah, I think definitely that's very important. We do occasionally ask seniors, do the 100-year life is coming, what do you think? And they go like, I don't want to live so long.
Yeah, exactly. Because, well, I'd be happy to live that long if I know I'm going to be okay. Yeah. But I don't want to live that long if I know I'm going to be immobile, not being able to do anything for myself. Yeah, all of those, not having agency, not having the ability to make decisions and choices yourself. We'd all be happy to live longer lives, I think, if we knew we could do that.
I think there's so much more awareness now for health and wellness, and also many seniors are coming saying that, I want quality of life. I want to live a good life. Yeah. And I think that's very important, that as people in the sector, we're always able to facilitate this and, encourage them to feel more empowered every day that they are living together with us. Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah. So I think we've also seen that in other sectors, data analytics has been used widely, and in the care sector, increasingly, care operators are also hiring teams to manage the data that's being collected across all the different channels.
Yep.
How are you using data analytics to improve quality of life for older people?
Well, I think it's very true about what they say. If you're measuring something, you're improving on it, or you're really starting to understand the impact that particular measure has on people. And so we're constantly looking at the real things that bring about quality of life. And so for us, that's about how much is someone active in the community, how and again, we have 99%, almost 100% of our residents are active within the community. That means they go to events that we hold. It means that they're out enjoying themselves within the community, whether it's going to a barbecue or just even going for a walk, or going out themselves, to other appointments and things like that. So a lot of it's around how active people are as well. And then, of course, lots of clinical indicators. Now, as an organisation, we do not have any restraints, restrictive practices. And yet we're constantly being told by other people in the industry that's not possible, but it is, and again, it's about how well you understand a resident and know how then to support them in the new environment that they're living in. So, the usual kinds of things, making sure that care is being delivered the way that it should be delivered, so that people can live a life free of pain. Pain is obviously a really clear indicator of whether or not someone can actually enjoy their life and therefore have quality of life. So yeah, lots of different measures, but some of them, more focused around wellness. How many people are actually going up to the wellness centre? How many people are engaged in activities? How many people are out and about on a sunny day? just simply watering the lawn or gardening. Those are all quality of life indicators that we look at as well.
Fantastic. Well, let's look a bit at the trends going ahead. And aging in place is one of the probably most searchable words when governments are talking about future policies and how we're going to look after the aging population. When you think about this, how can we look after more seniors and help them to age well at home? What is your thoughts on this area, and where do you see the future?
I think that already, I think that most people would agree, baby boomers, the different generations have more focus now on health and wellness, and there is a greater awareness of diet and exercise and all of those things, and health and general well-being. So I do think that that awareness is going to change the way that we deliver services. I do think that there is more and more that need for building or creating communities so that people have got their accommodation, and then the care that they might need comes into them when they require it, rather than having to build large aged care communities on their own. And I personally would prefer to live in a community that is very similar to the communities I've always lived in, i.e. I want to see children running around. I want to be part of a full community, not put away somewhere in an aged care facility. So for us, that's the future. We think that building communities and creating communities that include everyone, very inclusive, everyone in your normal community in that environment is what is going to happen for the future. And not just what is going to happen, but what people want for the future.
Well, taking the lead to create new models and to try to forward innovations is not easy.
No.
As a leader, you must have encountered many situations where people tell you, no, this can't be done, like you've explained earlier. How have you kept yourself continuously inspired and motivated to overcome all the no's?
Yeah, again, it's amazing how many people can walk around something that's already built, that they themselves can see is working, and that they say, oh, this is incredible, this is amazing, and then turn around and say to you, but it can't be done. Because because they think that traditional, or they're so tied to the way that things have always been done. Even today, 6 years after, we've been running this model for 10 years because we had small houses in Tasmania first to test the model, and now 6 years as the micro town, and still to be told by people it's not possible, you can't do that. Is really quite interesting. In some respects, that's a motivator in itself, because it's like, but it is being done and we are doing it. And, now you have to start thinking about it. You can't ignore it any longer. There's that, there's always people who believe in you, organisations like yourself, Janice, and other people that we work with who are innovators themselves and want to see a better outcome for older people, and I think the ultimate driver for me is always about, what would I want if it was someone I loved, or what would I want if it was for me? And I certainly do not want traditional institutional aged care. So, somebody's got to change, and as they say, sometimes you have to be the change that you want to see, and then be able to demonstrate to other people that it can be done.
Really well said. Thank you so much. Well, let's move on to the very last topic that we're going to talk about, which is recruitment and developing talent for the sector. What, if you had free reign, what are some interesting ideas you would have to attract new blood to the sector?
Look, it's really interesting, because our model is actually not built on having to have, aged care background or experience. And I think that is part of what separates us, makes us different. There's a few things I would do. One is I really truly believe that we should always hire people on the basis of the values we as an organisation hold. Give them a really clear vision, so a clear guide to what it is that we want them to do. What are our expectations? And then to give them the tools to get on and do the job and get out of their way, if you like. Don't micromanage. If you bring in good people, you have a vision, you have a clear guideline and set of systems or rules for them to follow so that they can make those or achieve those objectives, then we really should just get out of their way and let them thrive and be there to support and guide them when they need it. And that's pretty much what I try and do. I'm not always successful at it, but I think that that's incredibly important to build a team. In terms of changing, the sector, I think we need to. I really hate the task delineated type of, role that happens in aged care, because I feel that when we task around the person who needs our support, we don't have a relationship or a connection with them. And that was why we created our house companion role, because they're part of the house. They are there with the same people every single day, every shift. They get to know them really well. They are encouraged to not just provide the services, but to sit down and have a cup of tea, to actually engage in a conversation and get to know that person, and for that person to also get to know them as a staff member. And I think when we really connect and have relationships, it changes the whole way that we are when we come to work. We want to come to work. We're interested in what's happened while we haven't been at work for those people that we care for. That really changes the people then and our workforce in total, I think.
Yeah, I think fantastic. That's a very good way to approach trying to get, encourage more people to enter the workforce and to see that these roles are really different and evolving, and it's a value-based approach as well. One last question for you. Share with us an interesting tidbit of fact that very few people know about you.
Oh gosh, something people don't know about me. I don't know. I'm pretty open, I think, Janice.
A hobby, or a secret ambition, or in your second life, what would you?
In my second life, well, in my first life, I wanted to be a ballerina, and I trained as to dance for many years, and then unfortunately, just before I was ready to join the ballet school here in Australia, I had I broke my ankle in two places, and so then I had to change my career aspirations. So, so that's something that some people know about me, but not many. But yeah, it's something that stayed with me my whole life and career as well. I really still enjoy being able to dance and have the music around me and those kinds of things. So, yeah.
Well, I'm sure that's providing inspiration for your wellness environment in the village as well. I read somewhere that ballet is actually really good for older people, and I think that could be a way to bring ballet back to seniors in future.
That's not a bad idea, is it? I could have bar classes at the wellness centre, not just gym classes.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Well, thanks so much for being with us today. It's been wonderful chatting with you.
Thank you, Janice. Really appreciate it.
CarePage Business is the only feedback platform designed for the health and ageing sectors. With CarePage Business, you can uncover powerful customer experience insights, monitor resident or client feedback and complaints in a single, easy-to-use platform, and get the insights you need to drive continuous improvement in services and facilities. The CarePage Business feedback solution is designed to be accessible for your residents and clients. With large fonts and high contrast colours, surveys and feedback forms are designed for older audiences and individuals with cognitive or other impairments such as low vision. You can also offer surveys in a range of languages. CarePage business dashboards and analytics have been designed with the sector in mind, giving you clear oversight over one or multiple services. All feedback flows in real time into a cloud-based system where executives and managers can look at top-level reporting and delve into deeper analytics to look at feedback and complaints themes and identify areas for celebration or improvement. Free up your team's time managing and monitoring feedback so you can focus on delivering high-quality care and services. Get the complete feedback, complaints and continuous improvement solution designed for the health and ageing sectors.